Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bob Seat episode. One of these days, I'm going to remember the episode number. I think it's 10 or 11. Either way, we have the Claw back in the house. Welcome back, Claw.
What's up,
Good to
Bob?
see you, buddy. Been a while.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, the inception of this video podcast started with the Claw, and
Yes,
so we're
sir.
back. You
An
know,
epic
can't
journey
have
as it has been.
it, yeah, I mean, so far with the 10 or so ish, 11-ish episodes, it's somewhat of a rudderless ship, you could say, but I did poll the audience and heard that people wanted more random stuff. And so we're not talking about current events. We're not doing interviews in a structured format. We're just going to do random. We're just going to talk random.
Okay, I got random stuff for you.
Hit me.
The new Coheed and Cambria album came out last week. I'm a big Coheed and Cambria fan.
You got to
It's like
fill the
my
audience.
mid 2000s band. You've been to a Coheed and Cambria concert with me.
I have, but the audience doesn't know who Coheed and Cambria is.
They're a band, rock band.
Rock band. Okay.
I,
Yeah,
I
I
think
didn't know they were
I
rock.
think some of your audience, your
I've been to concert. I didn't know they were
first,
rock.
I don't think you would have known who they were, knowing what kind of music you were into and what music scene you were into in college and stuff. I'm not surprised you didn't know who Coheed was. But I think
No, but like, yeah,
were most people who went to high school in this area in the mid 2000s,
yeah,
anywhere around there would have at least heard of them.
armpit region of America.
Sure. If you want to the Northeast, if you want to call it that. But it was pretty good. It's pretty good. Um,
Yeah,
probably I don't know. They have 10 albums now.
10.
And
Good number.
yeah, and I think it's probably only the eighth best one. But that's still pretty good because their output's pretty consistently good.
Would you say you're a super fan of this band?
Yeah, I got a tattoo of the band symbol on my leg, so yeah, sure.
Can we see it? We're getting the leg up. Hold on a second. There it is.
You have to rotate it.
And what does it say?
Maria, my star. It's a lyric.
Maria, my stuff.
My sister
Hmm.
has the same symbol on the other half of the lyric, and the song's about a brother and sister.
And they've got 10 albums, and you've ordered them from 1 to 10, and you know the new one is the eighth best.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I know the first three are the three best ones.
It's not changing.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Um, I think most bands, when they have a cool idea or a creative idea, and Coheed definitely had a creative idea, musically and conceptually, where each album was going to tell part of a story.
Hmm.
And so it's not just, there have been concept albums, but concept albums that sequentially tell one story that was pretty novel, and their mix of genres, they, it was kind of part emo, part pop, part metal, part progressive rock, part art rock. They got it all in there. So it was a combination of styles. So when you have an idea like that and you're born from a lot of creative energy, I think you make your point within your first few works. You're really like great creative point when you're doing something that's novel or new. And you can either try things that you didn't create, or you can just continually try to recapture and rewrite what you've already done, which I don't think is very successful. So I do give them credit. They're a lot better than a lot of other bands from that era, like the mid 2000s that I remember. who just every time they release something, it's just the same like rehash of them trying to recapture what they had in like 2003, and it's 20 something years later.
It's a long
And
time, years.
eh,
So
yeah,
10
okay,
albums,
and
20 years.
musically, yeah. So I
That's
mean, I've
one
always like
album every 2 years, right?
um they released albums closer together early on in their career, and then I'm staring out the window right now. Are those planes or are those like UFOs? Babe, look out
In
there.
Jersey, you never know, right? Because
The two lights. You see those? Let's keep an eye out. I think they're planes, but
we might have a live sighting on the Bob seat.
UFOs.
This might
No,
be the
no, those are planes.
podcast in history
They're planes. I'm
to
sorry, I'm
live
forgetting.
interview an alien.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
They're planes. I'm sorry if I got everybody. The top one is a plane. The bottom one might be a helicopter. No, I see the lights on the wings now. Sorry. Yeah, well, that's random if you wanted random. But
Yeah, alien.
yeah.
How about that?
Let me continue my point. Like Muse released an album, like their last couple albums have just been bad. Just not, not like, oh, this is not up to standard of um what they put out in the early 2000s. Just like I wouldn't listen to it no matter who. Like I would think it was bad no matter who made it. And then there's a recent Dream Theater album. Dream Theater is like a progressive metal band that I like. And they put out a new album where the cover art kind of invokes one of their classic albums. And it's like they're literally rewriting the same instrumental passages because they have like a lot of long-winded instrumental passages being a progressive metal band. And it's literally like the same ones. It's almost it's almost completely rewritten note for note. Or they're certainly going for the same type of thing, but just devoid of any creative energy. So Coheed, I think the majority of their creative energy is created is in that in those first three albums, and I think ever since then, they constantly try their hand at kind of different styles of rock. It's all rock music, but it's stylistic changes, and it's certainly inspired. So just because it's not as good as their peak in the mid 2000s, um, like that Dream Theater stuff is not inspired. It's just, oh, how about we just redo this same instrumental passage that we wrote for Images and Words in literally 1992 and just tweak it here and there, and that'll give people, that nostalgia they're looking for our band. It's just an inferior copy of what you were doing in the past. Coheed at least tries different things. They have their own style and you can tell when it's a Coheed song, some of the tones on the guitars and some emphasis on very anthemic songwriting. Uh, but at least at least they want to try to do something new. So
Hmm.
I still enjoy it. I think maybe at some point they'll try something with one of their later albums and they'll hit that and they'll make one because a lot of classic rock bands were able to do that where they have their peak in like their heyday and then they do like a lot of work after that and it's never as good but then they release one where they just capture something and it kind of gets to that level and I'm a big Queen fan and for Queen it was Innuendo. So Queen's best stuff was in the 70s. Then a lot of whatever. They tried different things during the late 70s and 80s. It was never as good as what they were doing in the 70s. But then they released Innuendo in 1991, and that was like almost as good as like their classic output, which was the last album with Freddie Mercury before he passed away. And Try to think of like another good example of that. Um, Maybe the band Yes, if you've ever heard of the band Yes. They did their best stuff was in the
I mean,
70s, and then randomly in 1993 they did an album called Talk, which was really good.
hey, well, what are we talking about? I'm a little lost.
The band Yes. I'm talking about bands who they have like a classic period, right? Where they put out their best music
I'm
that,
not familiar with the classic period.
of any band. Well, what's a band you like?
Uh, I like Kruangbin.
Kruanbin?
Yeah.
Never heard
I'm
of them.
supposed to,
What's your favorite album by them or favorite song?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
See,
fuck.
I'm not a super fan of music, so I don't know that
Okay.
you
So
know, I don't,
you don't
yeah.
have a band or a musician that you're a super fan of. You kind of just dabble in different things.
Uh, yeah.
Sure.
But maybe I need to like dive deeper and like, I didn't even know that bands even had 10 albums. That sounds like a lot.
Depends a lot for one band. There's some bands that have like Iron Maiden has had like 20 something albums.
Wow. What do you
Jethro Tull has 20 something albums.
what do you think is the most number of albums?
For a band,
Yeah.
I know Frank Zappa put out a shit ton of albums. It might be
Shit tons.
It might be Frank Zappa. He did two a year for through the 90s, I think. Something crazy like that.
2 years a lot,
It is.
right?
It's a crazy output. He's like the Roger Corman of music. You ever heard of Roger Corman? That B movie
No.
director, he would direct like two movies a year, all through the 50s, 60s, 70s,
Wow.
80s.
Some people are very
His
prolific.
directing credits and his producing credits are outrageous.
Wow. Yeah. Some people just like are very productive,
Yeah, they
you
need to
know?
be doing something.
In Coheed and Cambria, they had two people, right? Coheed and Cambria wasn't just one person.
No, those are two characters in the story. There's four people in the
I know,
bands.
I just like messing with you.
I know. Well, you saw them, but you were pretty,
We went to a concert.
yeah, you weren't engaged with the
I
concert.
wasn't engaged.
You
Everybody
were,
stood up. I was sitting.
you were pretty annoyed, but it's fine. It was a chance to go to LA, right? It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, that was my first time in LA. We ate something there, didn't we?
We went to, I think it was a Thai place.
Yeah.
I thought LA was terrible.
You didn't like it?
Compared to San Diego. No, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
San Diego was just beautiful to walk around in.
Yeah.
I enjoyed going to all those restaurants out there that we went to when we were both living out there. But
Yeah.
LA just felt commercial and
Of course.
dirty. But I
Oh,
mean, I wasn't there for that long. But that's what it felt like. We were
it,
driving through and
yeah.
there was nothing I wanted to stop and see.
I mean, New York feels dirty, right? A little bit, a lot of it, right? It's got trash all along the streets, you know, just the trash bags,
Yeah,
just
it's
steam coming out from like the
yeah,
sidewalks.
I think that's part of
You
the
know,
charm of the cities up here though.
it's charming, isn't it, in New York?
Yeah.
But it's not charming in LA. In LA, it's
Well, you
just,
think LA is hot and sunny, and
yeah,
you want the vibe of the city to reflect that. Philly and New York are cold and dark, and it's
yeah.
whatever. It's like when you go by the steam, it's nice. You get to warm up.
You ever been to any other cities?
Yeah, I can run down a couple I love and one that I
Tell,
hate.
tell me the high and the low.
Chicago is amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chicago. Chicago feels clean, right?
Amazing architecture. The restaurants are great,
Yeah,
and the whole Chicagoland area. It was different enough from home, but familiar enough that I wasn't overwhelmed and uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
I mean, outside the city, it feels like Jersey. You got your
Mm.
strip malls and your suburbs, and people aren't that culturally different, but it's got its own vibe. You know, Evanston was really nice. That's where Northwestern University is.
Mm.
Spent a couple days in Evanston, enjoyed myself. The city's great. All parts of the city are great. The
Okay.
Wrigleyville
Chicago's,
area is fun. Yeah, Chicago's great. New Orleans is awesome.
I was gonna say New Orleans. What a great city that is. I love New Orleans. Good food.
Yeah,
Everywhere,
again, amazing
everywhere
food.
good food,
The
you know?
French Quarter is fun to walk around in. I actually
The
like
park.
that swampy area vibe around the whole city. I
Yeah,
don't mind it. It's different. It's just very
yeah.
different.
It's swampy.
My my phone thought I was talking to it. Fucking robots. Um, yeah, especially if you're in your 20s or you're a party animal. You'd really enjoy New
And
Orleans.
the music too,
Yeah,
you know?
I gotta say, I didn't do a lot of hopping around like jazz bars or anything,
I mean,
but
I'm just talking about like on Bourbon Street, you
mhm.
can just walk down the street and every bar has like a band in it.
Yeah, but it's known for jazz. New Orleans is known
What's
for
that?
jazz.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
It's known
Yeah,
for
that's fair.
jazz.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me. So that
Excuse.
was an aspect of it. Other cities. I'll try to do one more that I like before I rant about Vegas.
Okay.
Um, hmm. What's it- Saratoga, yeah. Kate just said Saratoga Springs. Not like
Where's
a
that?
big city, but
Florida?
that's upstate New York. It's just
Mm.
very peaceful. They're known for their horse racing. For some reason, there's a big race there, I guess. That's not what we went there to see. We basically went out there just to get away. And the state park there is so quiet, it's like life affirming. Because you're in the state park and you stop walking and you literally can't hear anything. And it's nice. And then the actual downtown's like quaint. There's little things to go see. They got all
Mm.
these little natural springs that you can drink from everywhere. So the water just bubbles up out of the ground and it's naturally carbonated. And you can just fill a water bottle up with it and drink it. Some
Sounds
of them are
great.
very some of them are very sulfury, so they taste like farts. But the good ones are like actually good. I would stand by them and drink that water all day.
Wonder what farts taste like.
Sulfur.
I I know what they
I
smell like.
found out when I drank overly sulfonated water.
Bet it tastes like it smells.
Yeah, it's not that pleasant, but
Not good.
there's dozens of natural springs around that area that are drinkable water. So I made a point to what? Naturally carbonated. And I just
Mm.
tried as many as I could while I was there. And some of them they have little warnings. They say, by the way, this one has a lot of sulfur in it.
Oh,
So it's not going to taste that great. You can drink it, but we don't recommend it, but it's not going to hurt you. But
mm.
then what was that one called? Polaris? Yeah, I think that was the good one. There was one called Polaris, and it was in Saratoga State Park. And that was like the good water. And I would fill up water bottles of that, and I was just drinking it for the entire trip. And then, yeah, the downtown, there's like cute little restaurants and shops and things to see and stuff. Richmond, Virginia was really cool in kind of that same respect.
we moved on to a new one.
Yeah, Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, number four.
Like super walkable,
Coming in number four.
coming in at
Richmond,
number 4, Richmond, Virginia. And
never been there.
I recommend it for a weekend. You could probably see everything there is to see within a week over there. And then you could take a week, like it'd only take a weekend to get to all the really good stuff. It's not like a destination go away all week place. It's like for a long weekend, Richmond, I would say, is like a perfect trip if you're from around this area because it's, 5 or 6 hours to get there and it's got its own vibe. It's right on the border of, where the mid-Atlantic turns into the South. So it's got a southern vibe to it. A lot of good places to eat, good southern cooking. And then I remember what I went down there for work and they had this really long walking path that went along the river and then like under the bridges that cross the river. And no matter where you are, you got like this great view of the city. It was just really pretty. And I just
Hmm.
remember enjoying being there and being kind of like a little upset that my class was about to be over and I had to leave because
Yeah.
that last night I was there, I just was like, oh, this is so peaceful.
Hmm.
And then my most hated city is
Okay.
Vegas.
Vegas. All right. Hit me.
Despised Vegas. Everything about Vegas. Vegas is annoying to look at.
To look at
To look at.
anywhere you are.
It's tacky and stupid. And I understand that people who live in Vegas don't like the Strip. And that's where people are obviously visiting. If you're going to fly out there and stay in one of the hotels, everything and all the attractions and shit is on the Strip. But
True.
within like 2 hours of getting there, I just couldn't. I went outside to just. I was kind of just walking around and trying to get a lay of the land a little bit. And I also wanted to find a place. The Mets were in the playoffs at the time, and I was trying to find a place to watch the baseball game. And as I was walking down whatever road it was, past all the casinos and hotels and everything, I got annoyed just being there. And I realized that I was going to be here for the next 5 days because I was actually there for the entire weekend for the When We Were Young concert, which is like popular bands from the mid 2000s. They had a festival, a 2 day festival where, Coheed was there and Cobra Starship and Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance and all those bands. So, like, the concert was fine over at the festival grounds. It was hot, but it was fine.
What do you hate about Vegas?
It's tacky and annoying and like a celebration of capitalist excess. Everything's hyper expensive. I went to Johnny Rockets to get a burger, fries, and shake. It was like $32.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of not stocking the hotel room with like groceries. So I
Mm.
was just going down to the casino floor every night to find food wherever. So I didn't, it was like there was a food court there. I'd get Johnny Rockets, and then one night, and then I'd get like a $12 slice of pizza, a different night. But
You know what I'm hearing,
what?
Claude,
What are you hearing?
from your overall choices of
Yeah,
best and worst? It sounds like you value peaceful, quiet, relaxing, charming places.
but I also love New York. So
Charming.
sure.
And there, you even mentioned quieter places of New York.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's New
do
York
you
State. I mean, Saratoga's not anywhere near the city.
do you like New York City, like Manhattan?
Yeah, I like Manhattan. I wouldn't go to Times Square, but I like Manhattan.
Okay, so you're not really Times Square. It's crazy. You're just tacky and capitalistic.
Yeah, it's just advertisements and a bunch of crap and it's for tourists.
How, you know? Maybe just everybody likes a different type of environment.
Well, of course, but you have me on and you want my opinion.
But who really loves loud and annoying? Who loves
Some people love going to Vegas. There's some
yeah.
people who love going to Vegas did say that, why were you there all week? I would only go for a weekend. But there's plenty of people who my sister goes to Vegas all the time.
Hmm. Yeah. Can't
She
live
makes
there.
like 3 Vegas trips a year.
I mean, some people live there, right? Some
Yeah.
people live there.
And they seem to not like the strip. But
Yeah, that's
it
true.
was my issue with Vegas is that I didn't feel like there was any place where I was comfortable. Even in my hotel room, it felt like I couldn't get away from anything.
Yeah. It's all loud.
Yeah. And I mean, part of the problem was the fact that all of us that were going to this festival were all packed into a relatively small hotel room. So that situation wasn't like the
Might
best.
be coloring your Vegas hatred.
Yeah, probably, but you
All
know,
right, what's number two most hated place?
probably St. Louis because of how boring it was. This is funny. Like I say it was too crowded in Vegas, but I was only in St. Louis for a little bit, but I remember it was an afternoon on the weekend, and I was in downtown St. Louis, and you there was literally not one soul like around. There was nobody around. And I was like, this is St. Louis. This is like a major city. And
Yeah,
I was in the middle of the city, and you would look around. It's like 11 in the morning on a Sunday, I think it was. And I couldn't see anybody. There was no
yeah.
cars, there was no people, there was no nothing. It's like nothing was happening.
This sounds like something you would like.
But not in like just like a center city. It was just buildings. I
Yeah,
mean, in Saratoga Springs, there was nobody for miles, but it was in the middle of this, beautiful state park. I mean, this was just like a d downtown
yeah.
city block,
Pretty empty.
and it was weird. It was kind of,
All right. Third most hated place.
are
Hit
we
it.
gonna, the international places I visited have all been great, so this is gonna kind of be like a rundown of places in America that I disliked.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, just Florida in general. Kate's laughing. Like Florida sucks ass.
What do you hate about Florida?
What? I mean, I visited with Kate. Her uncle lives down there, and I would
Kate.
never, ever want to live in one of those golf-centered retirement communities.
Hmm.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Florida, like as a whole. It's just sweaty and hot and full of people who are crazy, but not in a fun way.
Does seem to be the culture.
Yeah, like crazy in an obnoxious way.
Yeah. I mean, America does have a type.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised the type of people who seem to populate that place who are all flocking there. And I say go. Just go. You can have it.
I mean, they're just
Flo-
kind of
Flo-
hanging off the edge anyway.
Yeah, Florida people can have Florida. Just pack yourselves in over there. Get out of here. If you don't like it in New Jersey and New York, want to bitch about the taxes and this and that and wow, wow, wow. Okay, shut up. Go to Florida. Leave us alone.
You sure you don't want to move that up on your list?
What? No, because it's not one city. I'm sure if I spent a week in Miami, I would hate it, but I didn't spend a week in Miami.
Yeah.
The longest amount of time I spent in one place in Florida was kind of bombing around. Well, I guess I went to Orlando, Disney World when I was a kid. I'm not really counting that. Um, was that Sarasota National Golf Course? And Venice Beach. And Venice Beach. Venice Beach wasn't that bad. Like the Venice Beach town we were at, it was it was a quaint little beach town with like shops and ice cream and we had a our hotel room was really nice. Yeah, so much sand though. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. I'm not big into sand. But
So a
yeah,
solid fifth, staying in third place
well,
in terms of the work.
We'll
In
just
terms
do the
of work.
four that I liked. Let's, Chicago,
We heard that. Yeah,
New
yeah,
Orleans,
yeah. We got this.
Richmond,
Okay,
Saratoga Springs.
with something like that. Yeah.
And those are like the four
Good.
positives, and the three
Yeah.
negatives are
Yes.
Vegas, St.
Yeah.
Louis, and Florida as a whole.
Florida as a whole covers
Yeah,
at least two.
yeah, it covers a lot.
I like it.
Cool. I'm glad you do.
Well, I think that probably wraps up our conversation then.
I think it does.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please let us know what your thoughts are about the Claw's top four favorite places and worst three plus places, depending on how much Florida takes up. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your favorite and least favorite places are. And hopefully, we'll catch the Claw back on another episode of the Bob Seat very shortly. So, thank you, Claw, for being here and taking the
I'll be
time.
back.
Thank you to the Claw audience and the Bob Seat audience for being here.
All right,
Good
Bob.
night.
I'll talk to you later, buddy.